Hey, Zane Griggs here. Today I want to ask, what is a ketone? I actually get that question, now and then when I'm talking about going into ketosis or a ketogenic diet. Not something a lot of people try these days. I think it's becoming more and more popular, and more research is done about it because it's actually a really there's some therapeutic benefit to being in ketosis. I'm not talking about ketoacidosis, which is a state, very high level of ketosis that maybe a type 1 diabetic might go into. We're talking about inducing ketosis through your diet. And a ketone, which is the ketosis ketone, see that? See how that's derived? A ketone is really sort of like a fat molecule that is water soluble. So it's a water soluble fat form of energy, okay, that actually is special. It's different than normal fat. When you have fat in your bloodstream, it doesn't really pass through the blood-brain barrier, and so your brain can't really burn those typical fat molecules. So when you're on a low-carb diet, sometimes you get all that brain fog. It takes a while for your body to start converting fat to fuel very quickly, or convert it into glycogen, something that can burn quickly. Ketones can actually burn very quickly, and they're because they're water soluble, they pass that blood-brain barrier, so your brain can actually use ketones for energy, for fuel, which gives kind of clears up that mental fog and makes you feel a little more energetic when you're in that ketosis, essentially on a very strict ketogenic diet. So it's different from a low-carb diet. It's actually much more strict, much more fat, very little carb. So a typical low-fat diet might be like what I eat is, could be between 55 to maybe 70% fat. Maybe eat between 15 and 25% of your calories from protein, because protein does affect insulin and will boost insulin. And you don't want that if you're trying to keep a low carb or even a state of ketosis. You want to keep your protein moderate, okay? And then your carb, okay, for say a typical low carb diet might be in the 15 to 25% range, okay, of your total calories. For a ketosis, you're probably looking at 5 to 10% of your total calories, depending on how much you're eating. Really, you're probably talking about less than 50 grams of carbs a day, sometimes maybe less than 30 to get started. You may have to get down to even below 20, 10 to 20, some people say, to get it going, and then you might be able to stay at a cruising altitude there in ketosis for at maybe a 30 grams a day. So that's not very much. You can have that sneak in, even if you're just eating vegetables. You might have more than that sneak in your typical store-bought salad dressings and seasonings and other things you might be eating. That's really just a very few vegetables and whatever little carb might come in on leafy green vegetables, fibrous veggies. And if you put vinegar in your salad, there's very little carbs. So it's very hard to maintain that with a lot of practice. And you do have to up your fat intake. So your fat intake with your carb very low, you don't increase the protein, because again, that boosts insulin, or can affect insulin. You want to keep your protein moderate and have maybe 75% of your calories coming from fat. Some people take it to the next step and do, they keep their protein very low and might have an 80 to 90% of their calories coming from fat. Okay, a lot like Inuits or some South Pacific islanders have diets like that, with coconut and fish being their main staples. But you can maintain it with, like, say, a 70-75% fat, maybe 20% protein, and 5% carbs. So it's, again, somewhere between 10 and maybe 30 grams a day of carbohydrate. So yeah, not an easy state for most of us. Can't even imagine doing that. But what happens is you become very insulin sensitive. So it can restore insulin sensitivity. Like, it's a therapy used for some when they're trying to combat type 2 diabetes, so to regain some insulin sensitivity. And they're even using it for combating brain seizures, epileptic seizures, and with some use it with fighting cancer, because cancer cells feed on sugar only, and at a higher level than normal healthy cells, and they can't burn fat or ketones. So if you're in a ketogenic diet, you're essentially starving those unhealthy cells, and you can actually what they're finding is turn off some gene expression that's probably negative that we may have turned on either through diet or some other genetic factor that might have a gene expression going off that we don't really want. Okay, creating a disease or some other kind of issue. And sometimes an extended ketogenic diet can actually reduce that gene expression or turn off that gene expression and heal cell tissue. So again, ketones come from that very low fat or even fasted state. So if you're doing intermittent fasting or long-term fasting, like 3 or 4 day fasting, and you're having maybe water or broth, broth only fast, maybe some fat thrown in there like coconut oil or medium chain triglycerides to keep the fat flowing, but the insulin's very low, you're going to get that same benefit. You're going to start releasing ketones. And some people even, you can supplement ketones by, well, there's certain good ones on the market out there. Okay, there's some that just won't have much effect, but there's some good ketone supplements out there to help you get through that period where you get the brain fog before the ketones really kick in, and to take your ketosis, take your ketone levels up so that you get through the brain fog, get through the energy lull until your body catches up, or just to have it for those moments when they dip. Now, taking ketones will not put you in ketosis faster. That really comes from your diet, keeping insulin low, carbs low. But again, it will help you maybe power through that ketogenic diet and stay in ketosis longer, because it offsets the negative side when you're transitioning, or if you're very active, you're working out in that during that ketogenic diet in very low carb state, and you need a little extra energy, mental and physical energy, so you use the ketones because they really are like another macronutrient. They're like another energy source. Protein, carbs, fat, and ketones. So if you like this, please feel free to like our page and share it with a friend who may have a question about ketosis or trying a ketogenic diet. Talk to you later.